Hello, my name is Carly. Welcome to this video where one of SAP's marketing experts, Malcolm Hamilton, from the SAP Global Partner Marketing team, will be taking you through a detailed understanding of the highly acclaimed SAP 360-degree Cloud Customer Lifecycle go-to-market strategy. Malcolm will share how this easy-to-understand marketing strategy, if diligently applied by your marketing and sales folk, will not only generate high demand for your app on the SAP App Center, but can also be applied to generate repeat business and increase cloud profitability for your business.
My name is Malcolm Hamilton, Global Marketing Director from SAP Global Ecosystem and SME Marketing. I'm here today to share with you a go-to-market construct called the SAP Cloud Customer Lifecycle. This is a super powerful marketing and sales strategy that will drive prospects to your listing within the SAP App Center if applied well. So let me step into the agenda for today's session. First topic, we talk about something we call the pre-purchase buyer's journey, the process with which a buyer starts to research solutions and peer reviews and so on online before making any purchase. So your app has been published on the SAP App Store and is now available. But how do you take action to ensure that your app, your listing, is highly visible to over 440,000 of SAP's customers worldwide? That has to be the objective, right? Get as much exposure to that huge market as soon as possible. We then go into providing you with some summary on what the SAP 360-degree SAP customer lifecycle is. Bottom line, as you'll see, is the customer needs to be at the center of everything you do, from marketing, sales, and post-sales. And we want to also share with you how marketing can help accelerate all phases of the app buyer's journey. All buyers go through some kind of journey. We are offering you huge opportunities to team with us, SAP, to help drive those customers to your listing and, of course, buy. That's the bottom goal. And then, of course, this is especially important in the cloud space. It's one thing to generate a new sale. It's very much another to secure customer loyalty or retention. We want to talk about how this construct can help you drive loyalty with your customers, not to make just one purchase, but multiple purchases, and ultimately remain loyal to you and not, as we say in the industry, churn. So those are the high-level agenda topics that we're going to be talking to during this session. So what is the SAP 360-degree Cloud Customer Lifecycle? We talk about pre-purchase behaviors in terms of what do customers today do, how do they go about researching for solutions to their business challenges and business pains right now. And especially at the time of recording this session during the global COVID-19 pandemic, where many, indeed most people in business today are working from home. They're spending an awful lot more time online, researching, and indeed evaluating and buying. So here's some high level, if you will, perspectives on today's digital B2B technology buyer. On average, 6 to 8 people are involved in a buying decision today. This is because of social syndication, digital syndication. There's more information on all sorts of digital and social channels everywhere. So there's a great deal of choice. There's a great deal of self-empowerment. And also there's a higher degree of financial scrutiny. That there's a greater focus on return on investment than ever before, actually. There is a huge upsurge in the number of millennials that are now B2B decision makers across all business sectors. And they fundamentally research and buy differently to their predecessors, people like me. You probably gather, a baby boomer. And although I've spent a lot of my time on digital and social channels, millennials are extremely uh, busy, engaged in digital channels. The very high percentage of their searches and research is done on mobile devices. They're extremely socially savvy. They live in platforms like LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and indeed platforms now like TikTok, of course. They value advice from colleagues, peers, and friends much more than advice candidly from vendors. So they outreach through these channels, these digital and social channels, for peer reviews, opinions, use cases, and benchmarking. And also they only consume, if you will, snackable content. They're not typically embedded in long research cycles and look at reading long documents or listening to long videos. They like information in bite-sized chunks. What does all this mean? It means that the marketing and sales strategy needs to be adjusted to adapt to this paradigm shift. And of course, I've alluded to this already, what others say really matters. There is a significant increase in end user peer networking, again, across digital and social channels. So it's really critical that you and your brand, your value proposition, indeed your app, is highly visible across as many of these digital and social channels as possible to ensure that your target market, SAP customers, see your product, see your value proposition, and are motivated to buy. They are hyper connected across personal and business networks and communities, and they easily share and can easily share honest evaluations, not marketing spin, not sales spin, but reviews, and indeed positive reviews and sometimes negative reviews with their experiences with different brands. And all of this strongly influence the purchase decision. And also, of course, as it relates to the cloud, influences their renewal decisions as well. So all of this requires and demands a new thinking, a completely new paradigm in relation to marketing and sales. And again, the important thing to remember here is about being highly visible across as many digital and social channels as possible. That sounds like a huge challenge, and it need not be. You have SAP working with you, helping you get access to and market yourselves and your app to our install base. So what new thinking does this require? It means that you have to be extremely proactive with content that's highly relevant to the buyer and their phase in the buyer's journey. Needing to provide content that's relevant to their role, relevant to their industry. If your content does not speak to the buyer's persona, their buying drivers, given the point I made earlier on, where they have a very short span of attention, they will rapidly disregard you and click or swipe to the next vendor. Digital is now highly important in every stage of the buyer's journey, from the explore phase to the deal phase to the post-deal phase. You need to be visible across all dynamics with content that these prospects want to see and when they want to see it on digital and social channels. And this last point around empathy. Empathy and transparency definitely moves the needle towards you. Today, frankly, we are all being bombarded with messaging, marketing messaging across so many digital and social channels. We're becoming really kind of, I won't say cynical, but I would certainly say very selective on what we're investing time in reading and looking at. So SAP developed the 360-degree cloud customer lifecycle model for our partners around the globe in an effort to address all of these dynamics. And candidly, there is a number of variations of this type of thinking around the globe today. This is SAP's guidance to you, our valued partners, on how you can drive demand for your apps, drive traffic to the your listing within the SAP App Center. So let's talk about how best to adjust your go-to-market to adapt to these changes aligned to the SAP Cloud Customer Lifecycle model. So as we can see here, we have a wheel. We have 6 vectors. We have the explore phase, the evaluate phase, and the buy phase. This is the buyer's journey, if you will, on the right-hand side of this wheel. In the explore phase, one has to be considering topics like search engine optimization. We'll dig into this in a second. Then we've got the evaluate phase. This is once the buyer has moved through a series of evaluation, has engaged perhaps, maybe not even engaged, but they're beginning to start evaluating your solution compared to others. And then, of course, the final phase on this side of the wheel is the buy phase. That is the process with which ultimately a customer clicks buy. And the construct we're about to go through explains how marketing will support and needs to support each phase of these 3 phases. So, of course, the first vector I showed you is the explore phase, helping prospects find you, find your listing on the SAP App Center, using digital marketing to build awareness for your brand and for your value proposition. Using different tools, search engines, web, email campaigns, blogging. 47% of digital marketing is used to generate leads. I would venture to say that today, right now, against the backdrop of COVID-19, that's more like 90%. So these discussions today are absolutely critical. The second phase of the 360-degree life cycle is evaluate, the phase with which the customer has gone through an exploration phase. You've managed to capture them into your listing and they will begin to evaluate you. So you're going to need to stand out from the competition. You do this by providing very compelling, relevant content to validate your expertise and indeed validate the fact that this app, this solution, stands out from the competition. And again, this stat here, 97% of content is shared on social media means precisely that. Social media is a content syndication platform that massively influences this phase of the buyer's journey, the evaluation phase. And then we move, of course, into the buy phase. And this is where the buyer really begins to make some fairly important decisions, either to include you or not in their purchase. And again, all of this is done online today. They look for referrals within their business and outside of their business. They reach out to their peers and they have online discussions around what is this solution going to do for their business? Is it the right solution for their needs? And rather than make a standalone decision, there's no need to do that these days. They're reaching out to their peers, in some cases even their competitors, by researching them to validate the deal. So then, of course, we go into the post-sale transaction. Once the sale has occurred, that is not the end of it, especially in the cloud world. Quite the opposite, actually. There needs to be an engagement phase with the customer. There needs to be an optimization phase, and of course, finally, an expansion phase. As you'll see from this graphic, the customer is central, always central, keeping the customer and indeed the customer's persona, their buying drivers by role, by industry, by customer size, by geography. All of these things need to be considered when building content and delivering content and making available that content to your target markets within the SAP customer install base. So when we go into the engage phase, this is after the transaction has been made, the customer has made the purchase. It's really important that you engage with this customer early, very early after the purchase has been made, outreach to them to ensure that they understand the true value of the application that they've just invested in, whether they need support, and indeed deliver that support at that phase. This is the most critical phase in any cloud transaction. If the customer isn't engaged initially and they start to have issues or trouble or challenges with implementing and using that your application, they're going to churn. They're going to leave. It's no question. So there's a series of things that you can do to ensure the engagement phase is maximized, to ensure that the customer feels loved to death, that you care, you empathize, and you want to help them with their success. Then we move into optimize, and as the word implies, it's about ensuring that the app is being used in the correct way, and that there is regular communication with the customer to ensure that they are aware of best practices in terms of the usage of the app. What are other customers doing with this technology, your solution? It's always about, by the way, wherever possible, demonstrating in terms of customer success stories, short videos, for instance, but always make certain that the information you're sharing is shared initially in bite-sized chunks that can be consumed readily. And if the customer needs to or wants to engage, can engage with you readily. And then the final phase is around the expansion. This is where customers start to speak to one another. Internal stakeholders start to speak to one another. You need to provide your customers with the kind of assets that can be readily shared both internal to your customer organization and to their potential value chain, where their value chain, their business partners could well use the app as well. So those are the 6 phases of the SAP 360-degree cloud customer lifecycle. And all well and good, as you're listening to this session today, the challenge for our partners very often is, well, okay, I understand this construct, I agree with it, but how? How do we do this against the backdrop of so much noise in the digital and social fields? How do we do this? Some good news. We're here to help. SAP have developed a series of marketing campaigns, marketing constructs, marketing assets that you can leverage to deliver content of the type I've been referencing that's relevant to the buyer. It's relevant to where they are at this stage of each stage of the journey.
So as Malcolm has just said, SAP are investing in your success by providing you with free access to powerful demand generation tools that empower your marketing and sales folk to send valuable, relevant content that are aligned to all 6 phases of the SAP 360-degree cloud customer lifecycle. Introducing SAP Virtual Agency, a multi-award-winning on-demand marketing planning and lead generation platform that SAP is making available to you, our valued partners, free of charge. This tool is a marketing manager's dream, as it takes the heavy lifting away from having to plan, build, and execute lead generation campaigns from the ground up. In SAP Virtual Agency, you have access to a huge library of assets and resources that you can tailor to convey your app's value proposition to your target SAP customers, driving them to your app listing in the SAP App Center. So don't delay and get your user access today. Simply go to www.sapvirtualagency.com and click Apply for Access. You will be given access shortly thereafter, usually within the same day. Use the marketing planning tools to build out your marketing plans and start your lead generation within hours, not days or weeks.
So, as mentioned before, marketing historically have been responsible purely to do two main things. One, generate brand awareness, awareness in the market for the brand and the value proposition, whether that's technology, any business. And of course, secondly, historically, marketing's been responsible for generating leads, leads that are passed to sales for sales to prosecute and closed. The world has changed. Marketing now has to be fully engaged in supporting all of the 6 phases that we've just been discussing. The explore phase for sure, the evaluate phase, the buy phase, the engage, optimize, and expand. Marketing needs to support all of these 6 vectors with the customer central. The reason they need to support is because they can support, primarily using digital marketing and social marketing and sales best practices. The bottom line here is marketing is a revenue generator. Marketing is a revenue generator. I say that twice because so often marketing is perceived as just generating leads. Not anymore. Marketing is a revenue engine if applied well. So, in order to gain maximum attention and visibility to those 440,000 SAP customers around the world, we need to help you build an always-on go-to-market strategy, 24/7, which of course is fundamentally digital, social.
This next session contains some super important guidance and support on how to build a marketing plan for success. Malcolm is going to share with you some leading edge best practices on how to build a highly actionable, measurable marketing plan that captures the essential elements of an effective marketing strategy, a strategy that everyone will understand and want to support. Not only that, he's going to share how to access and leverage SAP marketing planning tools that we are making available to you, our valued partners, free of charge.
So, we're keen to initiate marketing to start driving traffic to your listing in the SAP App Center, right? Of course, but we need to build a plan. We need to ask you to build a plan that is designed to ensure that you capture what success looks like, measurable success, also captures some key metrics and some key tactics that underpin your go-to-market strategy. So often in my meeting with partners around the globe, I see some great plans developed, really great marketing plans developed. However, all too often I find that there's a challenge sometimes in execution. It's one thing to build a great looking plan. It's very much a different thing in terms of successful execution. Many reasons for this, but some of these reasons include the planning tool that is being used is just too complicated, too complex, trying to capture too much information. And that often means that the information that's being put into the plan isn't really realistic, and by the way, isn't understood by multiple stakeholders across your business. Far better to build a plan that is easy to populate, easy to understand, and easy to measure as you progress through execution. So we strongly recommend, before we start investing time, resources, budget in driving demand, build a plan. The really great news here is that we at SAP have developed 2 marketing planning templates that you can use. They're accessed within the SAP Virtual Agency tool, which we will be covering in greater detail a little later in this session. but I want to share with you some of the key and most important topics that need to be considered for a highly actionable but effective marketing plan. First thing is, there needs to be agreement internal to your business. What does your ideal customer look like in terms of what industry do you consistently succeed in? What industry subsets is your application of greatest interest, or maybe even built specifically for? Also, what are the ideal roles? What is the best role within an organization to target in terms of their responsibilities? And as we know, in successful cloud marketing and sales, it is best to target the line of business, the head of line of business. These are the people that are feeling the pain, and most importantly, would stand to make most gain by having the pain addressed by your app. And then also, in terms of once you've defined that role, what are the buying drivers of that role? In terms of what motivates that individual to want to look closer into your app and then potentially advocate the purchase with their stakeholders and indeed their superiors right up to the C-level in some cases to sign off the purchase. What are the buying drivers by role? And they differ, of course. For instance, a CFO or a head of procurement would have a different set of metrics required for them to make a decision to buy, as opposed to, let's say, head of distribution or head of HR. Therefore, different messages need to be delivered and planned for delivery and captured within your marketing plan. The next area, of course, is kind of 101, I know, but it's so often forgotten. Buying drivers for these ideal customer profiles differ in terms of the company size. Often in the smaller size companies, these line of business heads are the people that sign off on the purchase. They're the people that have been doing the research. But as you move into the medium to larger size companies, many of which, of course, are the SAP customer install base, there's multiple stakeholders involved, and therefore different types of messaging need to be factored in, and different measurements for success need to be factored in. More people are involved in the buying process, the larger the organization. Therefore, messaging has to be built, assets have to be made available that resonate with the ideal customer profile within an organization, and there are value to their stakeholders and their peers within the organization to get alignment and to get commitment to invest. Next topic, really important, of course, again, 101, but in terms of geography, what geographies are you targeting in terms of where your ideal customer reside? Are multiple languages required? Are different cultural messaging required? Imagery. I too often see campaigns that go out into the field with the wrong imagery, with the wrong type of language. And that, of course, will in many cases offend your target market. You need to speak to the profile of the human being that you are helping, and you want to secure their support, their interest, and ultimately their buying to invest in your application. And this is a term which is often overused, but consider some kind of propensity analysis. Where do you consistently win new business in terms of all of the factors we've just been discussing? Where do you also consistently lose? If you know where you consistently win, it's relatively straightforward to build a profile as to what type of prospect you need to target. What does your ideal prospect look like in terms of size, in terms of geography, in terms of industry, and in terms of role? And then it's a matter simply, well, not simply, but the primary objective then, of course, is to do some really good database analysis or database cleansing to take a laser beam focus targeting as many of that type of ideal customer profile as possible with all your messaging, with your social media, with your digital marketing, with your SEO. This is key to success. And finally, really important component of your marketing plan. You need to set and identify what are the lead to cash targets for the entire life of the plan, either for a specific marketing activity or for a complete marketing strategy covering all marketing tactics and strategies. Once again, it's one thing to understand that you want to drive net new business and to share that with your peers and your superiors. It's very much another thing to be able to say, well, what does success look like in terms of how many leads do we need to bring in the marketing funnel, and how many deals do we expect to get as we progress those prospects through the buyer's journey that we've already been discussing. The tools that we at SAP have built that you can leverage free of charge, as I mentioned earlier, reside in SAP Virtual Agency. Then that overused term today, and I believe is being overused, is that term called alignment. It is extremely important that you share your draft plan with key stakeholders within your business. Stakeholders that have a, if you will, a vested interest in making certain that the plan is achievable and is achieved and sets realistic expectations. Organizations that do not align in sharing and securing stakeholder alignment on these plans often fail because there's a disconnect between what marketing feels it's expected to do and what sales feels it is expected to do. When you discuss these key metrics within the plan and secure stakeholder alignment and agreement, we find, without exception, the lead to cash ratios are significantly improved. More deals are closed, and in terms of the apps on the SAP App Store, it's fundamentally the same. So please, we highly recommend you, once you've built your plans, share it with your SAP stakeholders, share it with your internal stakeholders, so as we all know how we're working together and what the targets we're building for one another. Wanted to share with you a very quick screenshot of the page that you will see within SAP Virtual Agency. I say again, we're going to dig deeper into this tool a little bit later in this session. This is the screenshot of the location within the SAP Virtual Agency tool, which captures the marketing planning tools. There are two versions. There's a light version which captures the absolute baseline metrics, and there's a more comprehensive version that includes your strategy. It includes the details of your plan, as covering the topics I've just mentioned. And then at the end of this process of building your plan, there's actually an ROI calculator, which gives you the ability to map your investments against your expected returns, so that you can then share with your colleagues in leadership to say, if we invest these resources, if we invest this time in driving this particular plan, these are the results we expect to achieve. A much better discussion to have with leadership than just saying, I want to run marketing campaigns. So again, I've labored the point of how important marketing planning is, but I can't stress enough that if you build a successful and effective marketing plan, you will succeed. You will drive net new business. You will drive net new traffic to your listing within the SAP App Center. Around the marketing piece, of course, we work with you to announce the fact that your app is now on the App Store and is live with a joint press release. If you go to the App Center Resource Center, the portal, you will find tools, and indeed, as far as this press release is concerned, a template which enables you to build your press release, and we will help socialize and promote that press release across our massive social channels and PR channels around the globe. These three little letters here, SEO, of course, stands for search engine optimization. Probably one of the most important components of successful marketing in the explore phase. Website optimization. Your website has to be super high performance, easy to navigate, and of course, most importantly, or one of the most important things, optimized for mobile use. Mentioning earlier on, a very high percentage of searches and views are today conducted on mobiles. Also, of course, wherever possible, make certain that you are syndicating content across your social channels, like LinkedIn, like Facebook, like Twitter, because this is where your prospects are looking. They are looking in social channels. They are researching. And wherever possible, please use the SAP App Center hashtag, SAP App Center, in all of your social media communications. So that's the explore phase. In the evaluate phase, customers are looking, they've moved through the explore phase, they've done a little bit of, first of all, you've captured their attention, and they've started to evaluate you, evaluate your expertise, and compare you. This is when they look for validation through things like customer success videos. So produce as many customer success videos as you can and make them available for your prospects, SAP's customers, to look at, to validate their evaluation, and indeed to share with their peers, their superiors within their company, to make certain that they feel they're making the right decision. Also, of course, webinars have become increasingly popular, but make them no longer than 30 minutes, 15 minutes to 30 minutes max today. There are so many webinars available now that prospects are being quite selective as to what to attend. Don't be tempted to speak too much at this stage about technology. Talk about how the application solves business challenges and business challenges relating to your customer target markets. This is what they're looking to hear. How can you solve the challenges that they are currently facing, and indeed how your app adds value to their current SAP footprint. Then we move, of course, into that all-important phase, the buy phase. And this is when they start to really want validation around topics like ROI, return on investment. They're looking for, again, validation. And you may already be aware, you may not, that SAP are keen to work with you to develop co-branded business transformation studies. These are immensely powerful in helping the customer, giving the customer some comfort that they're making the right decision, click to buy. Again, customer success videos. You really can't have too many customer successes to share at this phase. So then we move into the phase after the transaction. What kind of assets and marketing can be provided? This is when we talk around topics like providing them with digital or online welcome kits, which provide them with information, really important information, to help them ensure that the implementation of the app goes smoothly, and that the customer feels there is a high degree of customer care being provided to ensure that they get maximum ROI and value out of your application. Give them information on, of course, technical support. This is mission critical, absolutely. Wherever possible, assign them a customer care agent, a real human being. Avoid a chatbot if you can. A real human being that can provide them with real support. This is to ensure that the customer feels comfortable at this early stage of their relationship with you, that they are going to be supported going forward. Then, of course, the optimization phase. Wherever possible, schedule regular online, on-demand demos and customer enablement sessions. Provide them with content and assets highlighting your application's benefits, because typically, very often, as we all know, customers only often use a small percentage of our technology footprint. The more information you provide to them, the more education you provide to them on demand in snackable format, the more likely that they will remain loyal to you. They will maximize the use of the application, and indeed go to the next phase of the buyer's journey, which is the expansion phase, which is when they advocate for you. They reference you. They share with their peers. They share with their contemporaries internal to their business and external. But to be able to share, they need information. They need assets. They need videos. They need white papers. They need case studies. Anything that can be shared easily with the group, the peers, is of value to them, and they will willingly share. So this is the type of thinking you need to consider as it relates to keeping the customer central from the explore phase right through to the expansion phase. And I must say that we launched this program just under 4 years ago. We now have just under 1,200 of our partners globally managing their whole go-to-market construct this way. And the more that we see our partners use it, we see them grow. We know it works. It only comes down to how you, as a partner, tailor your content according to these dynamics. 2 points to make here. One, of course, is you can't do this with a spreadsheet. Well, you could, but it wouldn't scale, wouldn't be effective. You need a good CRM system, and you need, of course, some kind of marketing automation. Most of you that are hearing this session will have some kind of CRM and some kind of marketing automation. Please consider embedding this model into your DNA as it relates to driving demand for your apps on the SAP App Center. So this chart is effectively designed to just say one core thing mainly. As you can see, as we build this chart, more and more content these days is being delivered digitally. Nearly everything that we're receiving today, of course, with face-to-face meetings virtually disappeared, events, face-to-face events virtually disappeared. Everything that we are receiving from a sales and marketing perspective, we are receiving digitally. Wherever possible, with the content that you are delivering to the prospect and then your customer, building some kind of call to action, some kind of action-based trigger that motivates the prospect to move to the next phase in the journey. And that trigger may be as simple as a link to your website, a link to your listing in the App Center, a link to a video. But wherever possible, always embed some kind of asset which stimulates action. And again, leverage SAP's huge brand awareness across our install base and outside our install base, of course. We have currently, for instance, over 57,000 Facebook followers, over 24,000 Twitter followers. We are keen to work with you to help you socialize and syndicate your messages, your content to our install base. The final point here, test and refine. A really powerful methodology, if you will, here is just because you develop an asset or a tool or a message doesn't mean to say that once you've sent that asset or once you've embedded it in your website or in a blog, that it's the ideal version. Do something called A/B testing, make changes and test the results. Look at your website analytics. Are prospects digging deep? Are they starting to stay? How long are they staying on your website? Are they engaging? Are they engaging with a chatbot or live chat? Just change small components of the assets, the messaging, and measure it. It may be as simple as changing the font. It may be as simple as changing an image. It may be as simple as shortening a video. These small tweaks can have sometimes quite significant impact and uplift. So keep testing, keep refining, A/B testing on all of these phases of the buyer's journey. And post-sale, wherever possible, engage the community, help your customers and your prospects engage with their internal and external peers by, as I've mentioned before, providing them with content that they would want to share and would find of value. But in the optimize phase, importantly, always think about, does the content you're sending them help them solve some challenges that they may be confronting? If it isn't doing that, you need to think about the construct of your messaging. And again, finally, right content, right time, the right way, and I may add through the right platform, mapped and aligned to the buyer's journey. Really important. There is few things worse than receiving a message from a vendor that is, if you will, an explore phase type of message. Hi, how are you? We are this company. We thought we'd like to make you aware of our solution. And that prospect has already either spoken to you or responded in some way. Candidly, that's not good marketing. It's not good business. The messaging needs to reflect the fact that you know that they've already engaged in some way or haven't. So really important. You can only do this with CRM, of course, and marketing automation. The good news is, as part of the SAP Next Generation Partner Program, we are investing in your success. As partners progress into the Spotlight and SAP endorsed apps classifications, we are providing you with valuable, tangible support where you will receive additional enablement and go-to-market support as your application gains success and traction through these stages. These include SAP Business Development Funding, that is fully funding multiple marketing options for you designed to generate demand for your app through the SAP App Center. These programs have developed by world best-in-class agencies on behalf of SAP, designed to predominantly drive traffic to your listing. To find out more information, you simply point your camera at the QR code at the bottom of this screen, and you will be taken directly to the site where you can go through the various application processes. We've made it super easy, but again, this is SAP investing in your success in this huge opportunity for you to grow your business with SAP. So, I hope you found today's session of value. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions, if you have any feedback. I can be contacted either on Twitter at Malcolm, it says Hamilton, or I can be emailed at malcolm.hamilton@sap.com. Scan this QR code with your cell phone to be taken straight to the App Center for more information. I thank you for your time, and happy 360-degree marketing and sales.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this video tutorial on the SAP 360-degree Cloud Customer Lifecycle Go-to-Market Strategy. We hope you found the information we shared with you valuable. As Malcolm stated in this session, it's one thing to build a world-class marketing plan mapped to the 360-degree construct. Driving SAP's customers to your app listing on the SAP App Store is more likely to occur if you execute your marketing activities aligned to all 6 phases of the buyer's journey. We at SAP want to help you achieve high demand for your app by teaming with you to drive awareness of your app to more than 440,000 of our customers around the globe. Also by giving you access to a range of powerful marketing campaigns, co-marketing, free tools and resources. Simply scan this QR code with the camera on your mobile phone to be taken to the Partner With Us section on the SAP App Center and start your journey to success.